Hey everyone, welcome in to Next Round Preps. John Lunceford, Jerry Young here with you, and we are on to the, third round of the high school playoffs. And Jerry, been an exciting first couple of rounds here. We've obviously been following Thompson, but a lot of big games coming up here in this third round. Looking forward to it.
You know, I'm anxious to get into this show, but first of all, happy Thanksgiving, everyone, because I got this vision in my mind, John, that people are sitting there watching us, and they are either stuffed and they're watching us, or they're waiting on somebody to get it ready so they can go get stuffed. So they're watching us now. So.
Believe me, I understand if you're halfway through this and it's like, food's ready, click, turn it off, and run to the food.
Make sure you hit pause. Don't cut us off altogether.
And then, of course, happy Black Friday to those who celebrate. However, the way I have celebrated, I can't talk, Black Friday since I first stepped foot into high school has been with high school football. That has been the priority. I played every Black Friday that I was in school because that means you're still in the playoffs. So that's a good thing if you're playing on Black Friday. But this year, even 7A is playing on Black Friday, and it's only the third round, not the fourth round of the playoffs. So a little different this year, I guess. But for some, I don't know why the AHSAA did it, but they moved everything back a week.
Right.
So Black Friday is now third round instead of fourth round, but that just means more football on Black Friday for all those who are watching the NFL on Thursday, obviously college Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and you get a little extra high school in there on Friday as well.
Yeah, I've always called a game on Black Friday because the 7A's always been off, so I usually have been calling the 6A semis from Legion Field because Ramsey's been in it the last 2 or 3 games. We went to Pleasant Grove one time. So I guess all that's gone. I'm not sure what I'm doing
did one,
next week.
Yeah, Pleasant Grove one time too. I don't know.
That's
It's just, I guess we'll have to figure out something next week. But
all
instead, let's move on to round 3. Round 3 this weekend. All the games will be on Friday, obviously. Thursday being Thanksgiving. No games are going to be then. That is the day for the NFL. Always has been, always will be, and the occasional college football game as well. But in 1A, let's start at the bottom. We'll run through 1A through 4A here and then get back from our break and do the upper classifications. But Wadley, how about this? 81 points in their win over South Lamar. Big win there for Wadley. When I do my spreads.
Yeah, you got to tell them this.
I had Wadley 24.5 and says Wadley 54. So I had one of the numbers right. I had the 4, but Wadley 81-27 winners over South Lamar. They will move on and face Pickens County, who won 38-29 over Winterboro. That game will be at Pickens County there. Pickens County 9-3, kind of had to sneak into the playoffs, but once they get to the playoffs, boy, they are a strong team. And winning 38-29 over Winterboro, the Tornadoes. They're used to being in the Super 7 there. Hackleburg, they win 33-18 over Valley Head. They will play Coosa Christian. Now remember, Coosa Christian is a 3 seed. That they are only a 3 seed because they had to forfeit their first half of the season, basically. And so they kind of had to sneak in as a 3 seed, but they are arguably the best team in all Class 1A. 28-6, they win over Lynn. So Hackleburg will travel to Coosa Christian. They're in that 3 seed that is kind of a sneaky seed to be in because you basically get to play a couple of home games if you're able to win out. So Coosa Christian there in the north, they are going to host Hackleburg. Moving into the south, Maplesville, they're a big winner over Sweetwater, 28-21. They will host Elba, who won 47-28 over Milry. Maplesville, Elba, no shock. Those are names we are used to seeing at that point.
Yeah, I'm shocked that Sweetwater didn't take care of business this year, though. I'll be honest with you. I thought they had a better team than Maplesville, but, hey, 28-21 game. I think we all knew it was going to be a close game, but I'm just not really shocked. I'm just a little, maybe, congratulations to Maplesville.
There are some teams, when you get to the playoffs, they just win. And Pickens County is one of those, and Maplesville is one of those. Even though neither one of them won their region this year, they just win. However, Elba also one of those, as they win big over Milry, who was a 2 seed there, 47-28. However, Elba going to have to go to Maplesville and play at Red Devil Stadium this weekend. Then in the other quadrant there in the south, Brantley, they win 14-12 over Lochapoka. They will host Leroy, who won 27-13 over, once again, a good Georgiana squad, but Leroy. Leroy and Brantley both, when it comes to the playoffs, they know how to win.
Yeah, and I got that game down. These two teams have only met one time. Leroy won it 42-14 back in 2022, and that's the only time they've ever met. So We'll see if history repeats itself or not, but Leroy's got a good team, but never fear. Brantley, the only thing that worries me a little bit, their offense may not be quite as good. Leroy's got a really good defense. That may be the difference in that game.
Here are your 4 road teams in the South, or in 1A. 11-0, 12-0, 11-1, 11-1. Your 4 home teams: 8-4, 8-4, 7-5, 9-3. So clearly, some teams pulling some upsets there, allowing them to be at home there in Class 1A. All right, moving on to Class 2A. As we'll start in the northern half here, Locust Fork, they beat Sulligent 54-21. Big win there. They will have to go to Fife, though. Fife, one of those teams when it comes to playoffs, you always expect them to do good. 57-24. They beat Lexington in the second round, so now they will host Locust Fork at Paul Benefield Stadium. Once again, when you're the active coach and your name's on the stadium, it means you're doing something right.
It definitely does, and that's 2 great offenses going against each other.
No doubt. And then in the other quadrant there, Pisgah, they get a win 66-38 over Tanner. And then Southeastern, they fall to Tuscaloosa Academy, and that's where we get our Milo's player of the game. Wanted to include this. Didn't realize this, but Preston Lancaster, quarterback from Tuscaloosa Academy, the leading passer in the AHSAA right now. And in that game, he completed 21-24 passing for 223 yards, 3 touchdowns, plus rush for 2 touchdowns as well. In that game, 38-6, they beat Southeastern. He's currently 225 of 315 for 3,515 yards. He's also added 160 yards rushing, has 52 total touchdowns, 45 passing, 7 rushing. And this is only the second year for Tuscaloosa Academy in the AHSAA. They were in the AHSAA. They were a 3A team there. Played for a few state titles. I know they won one, I want to say 2012. And then last year, in their first year of AHSAA play, they made it to the third round where they met Fife, who's going to potentially be the team they meet if they move on to the semifinals. But they will have to travel to Pisgah here. It's going to be the first away game for them in the playoffs. They hosted Red Bay, and then they hosted Southeastern. But they are going to have to travel to Pisgah, who is a 2 seed, beat Tanner last week.
Let me tell you something. You hang 66 on Tanner, you've done something.
Yeah.
I don't care who you are. Tanner's a good football team, and Pisgah obviously is a better football team, hanging 66 points on them in a playoff game.
Averaging 55 a game so far in their first 2 matchups. So it's going to be tough for Tuscaloosa Academy. Tuscaloosa Academy averaging 36.5 per game. They've had pretty good defenses as well, only giving up 16 and 6 to Red Bay and Southeastern, respectively. All right, in the southern half, Reeltown, they win 48-14 over Thorsby. They will travel to Cottonwood, who beat Isabella by 1, 24-23. Isabella, a team you expect to have a little success there. They were a 3 seed, beat St. Luke's on the road, then hosted Cottonwood. Were able to keep it close, but Cottonwood ends up moving on 24-23.
I had that game as a pick'em. Did you?
It was a close one. Yeah, it was. Let's see what I had the official spread at.
Didn't mean to.
At Isabella, -1.5. So it was close. Yeah, just slightly leading Isabella. A lot of that's name brand right there, but able to get the big win. Cottonwood did. So they will host Reeltown, and then Clark County, they beat Goshen 22-15. They will host BB Comer, who got a close one, but a win over Highland Home, the Flying Squadron, the last time of the season.
Yeah, man,
in honor of their season.
That's how I get to stretch on the show.
21-14. BB Comer gets the win there. However, they'll have to travel to Clark County in that game.
Okay, well, here's the deal. Clark County came up with a big win. The last time that these 2 teams met were back in 2021. My gosh, not
long
that
time
long
ago.
Yeah, when they played BB Comer. Okay, it was a third round of the playoff game then as well, and Clark County won it 14-7. So going to be a good matchup. I'm looking forward to hearing that score. I wish I could watch that ball game. It's going to be a great one. BB Comer, a good offense. Clark County with a good offense. Both teams with a great defense. It's going to be another 1, 2, 3-point game.
Yeah, it should be a good one there. Let's see what I have my official projection at. BB Comer have as a large favorite in that one by 24.5 points. But
really?
I mean that's mostly based on who they've beaten so far and the fact that that's a big win over Highland Home that they had there in the second round. All right, moving on to Class 3A here as we will jump into the northern half of the bracket. Sylvania, they beat Winfield 35-10. Winfield, you're talking about Winfield potentially moving on, being one of those top teams, but they lose to Sylvania 35-10. Madison Academy, this is a close game here, 21-14 against against Mars Hill. Both these teams able to compete there in Class 3A. Mars Hill moving up from 2A in the last reclassification. Madison Academy, one of those teetering on the 3 and 4A line with competitive balance. Two private schools, but Madison Academy got the win 21-14. So Madison Academy will host Sylvania up there in Madison in the third round. In the other quadrant, Lauderdale County, they win 35-30 over Piedmont. Piedmont, another team we talked about being strong in the playoffs. They fall in a close one to a good Lauderdale County squad that beat Mars Hill this year in the regular season. They will host Geraldine, who beat Gordo in another upset, 42-34 there. Gordo, one of those talk about potentially making it all the way to the Super 7, but they fall to Geraldine there. Geraldine will travel to Lauderdale County. In the South, St. James, they beat Randolph County 41-6. They'll travel to Thomasville, who won 33-21 over Strong. And then Trinity, they win 35-0 over Flomaton. They will host Mobile Christian, who beat Houston Academy 35-10. Mobile Christian has been my favorite the whole time, and they're still looking really strong.
Undefeated on the year. Trinity's only got one loss. I'm anxious to see how your computer's going to spit that one out, but I'm telling you, these two, they both scored 35 points last week. Give you an idea. I think it's going to be a, 28 type game, maybe even overtime game.
Yeah, Mobile Christian, the computer spit out pretty high. Mobile Christian, when it comes to computer rankings and kind of when you look at, there's a bunch of different sites out there, Cal Preps, Max Preps, Massey, all these different sites out there. Some of the BCS polls will do some ratings for the whole country. And the few lower classification teams that are ranked on the same level as upper classification teams, Mobile Christian is one of them. Mobile Christian, Montgomery Catholic. You kind of have to get up to 3A before you really start seeing that. You didn't really know 1A or 2A schools, but Mobile Christian is one of those that is consistently considered pretty good. So when it comes to the mathematics of it all, Mobile Christian usually gets a pretty favorable line. However, those St. James Thomasville looks like it'd be potentially close strictly from the line perspective, and Madison Academy Sylvania could potentially be really close as well. But, Mobile Christian, they've been my pick from the beginning, and they'll continue to be my pick. They're in Class 3A. All right, let's move on to Class 4A before we take a break here. In the northern half, Cherokee County, they beat Haleyville 49-14. They firmly believe up in Cherokee County that they have a Super 7 winning team up there, and they have proven it so far in the playoffs. West Morgan, they beat Corner 35-14. West Morgan will host that game there against Cherokee County. Brooks, they beat Priceville 70-42. Big win there for a 3 seed. They put up a lot of points, 56 and 70 so far here in the playoffs against Aniana, a good team, and Priceville, a good team. Westminster Christian, though, they beat Dessler 39-35 in a close one. However, Westminster Christian will travel up to Brooks there in that one. So Brooks will host Westminster Christian. West Morgan will host Cherokee County there in the northern half of the bracket. In the south, though, a bunch of good teams left. Mentioned Montgomery Catholic. Pound for pound, considered one of the best teams in the state. 24-14 winner over a TR Miller team that's a tough out in the playoffs. We've talked about them, how good they are all year long. Jacksonville, they beat Bibb County 28-21. Bibb County, also a tough out there as well.
That's right.
That's the thing. A lot of the teams we're saying are losing. It's just getting that time of year where the good teams some good team has to lose because two good ones are going in. The biggest surprise probably, though, Booker T. Washington, 22-9 winners over Handley. Handley, a team that when you get to the playoffs, you expect to do a little something. They will host Jackson, who won 31-7 over a good Andalusia team. Don't know that Booker T. Washington can pull it off 3 weeks in a row, but kudos to them for beating American Christian and Handley in the first couple of rounds.
Never say never, but Jackson's undefeated. They've been putting up huge numbers. I mean, huge numbers. You look down there, I think the least amount of points they scored was last week against Andalusia, and that was 31 points. Booker T. Washington on the other side out of Tuskegee is just not really, had the kind of season they wanted to have. I look for Jackson, and they will be playing at home. Is that right? I didn't make that. I'm sorry, John.
Booker T. Washington is home.
At home. So Jackson's got to travel a good ways to play this game. So they've never met before, like I said. Should be an interesting matchup, but I just like Jackson.
Yeah, Jackson, like you mentioned, unbeaten. Montgomery Catholic unbeaten as well. Both have both of those as massive favorites, kind of what you expected going into the semifinals, and should be a good one if they both get there. However, on the northern half, I have Brooks as a slight favorite, and then I have West Morgan Cherokee County at a pick'em. Cherokee County has been good, but West Morgan has put up insane points all season long, as has Brooks, so a lot of good offenses there in the northern half for Class 4A, so should be some good matchups right there. All right, that's 1A all the way through 4A. The matchups coming up, obviously Obviously, there's a lot less matchups to talk about because you're down to 8 teams in every classification, but 7A right now. So that's it, 1A through 4A. We'll jump into 5A through 7A here in just a second after we take a quick break and after Jerry tells us about one of our great sponsors.
Yeah, Shepherd Equipment and Disposal. You've heard me talk about them all season long. Let me tell you something, folks. First of all, their number's 205-704-0408. That's the way you can reach them, 205-704-0408. They got a special right now. Rent a dumpster for the whole week. All right, $380. You can put that in your driveway if you're doing a project or whatever. You need to throw stuff in there just to have it, and that includes haul off, of course, delivery and haul off and all that too. They do other things like land clearing. They can do that. They have trailer rentals. They do light demolition, and by that I mean if you have a shed out back, you need torn down and hauled off, they can do that. If you got an old deck on the back of your house, you need that done. Anything like that, they can do it. They do debris removal. They can even build you a road, put some slag on it, say back to your pond, if you got land. Anything you need cleared, they can do it. You can reach them at shepherdequipment.com or 205-704-0408.
All right, thanks so much to Shepherd Equipment for sponsoring this show throughout the season. When we get back, round 3 of 5A through 7A right here on Next Round Preps.
Have you or a loved one been diagnosed with mild cognitive impairment, which is brain changes that are starting to interfere with your life? Did you know researchers have proven that these brain changes can be slowed down or reversed in many people that routinely exercise their brain? At the Care and Thrive Foundation, we specialize in helping you understand the specific areas of the brain that have changed and develop a brain health plan, including cognitive exercises, adaptive approaches, and helpful technology to proactively stay ahead of your brain wellness. Visit www.careandthrive.org for more information.
We've partnered with Who Is Coffee to create the Next Round Blend, available in light, medium, and dark roast. 100% Arabica beans. Specialty coffee roasted on demand, available in whole bean or ground for drip pods. Espresso and coarse ground for French press. Go to nextround.store to get a link to pre-order today. Everyone that pre-orders will be entered to win a prize pack with coffees, shirts, hats, and tumblers. Nextround.store for the Next Round Blend.
Welcome back in here to Next Round Preps. John Lunceford, Jerry Young here with you. We're about to jump into the upper classifications. Before we do that, I also want to give another shout out to our Milo's Player of the Week, Preston Lancaster, the quarterback there for Tuscaloosa Academy, looking strong here in their second year in the AHSAA, 21-24 passing, 293 yards and 3 touchdowns plus 2 rushing touchdowns. He's the leading passer in the AHSAA right now, over 3,500 yards. So congrats there to Preston for winning that one. All right, moving on to Class 5A. Let's start in the northern half. Pleasant Grove, big winner, 49-7 over Boaz. No real shock right there. They put up 49 in both of their first games, so able to put some points on the board. They will travel, though, to Guntersville, who came back to beat John Carroll. Cannot overstate how great a season John Carroll had, and I thought they're going to be able to pull it out there against Guntersville. They got to host that game as a 3 seed. I mentioned that 3 seed spot, always getting to host in the second round, but Guntersville came back, won that one. Tough out for John Carroll, but boy, what a season.
It's been a lot of years since we've talked about John Carroll being this deep in the playoffs. What a great job that they did, and they deserve another shout out. Congratulations.
Absolutely. So Guntersville will host that one. Pleasant Grove will head up to Guntersville there and play them this Friday. In the other quadrant, Ramsey, big win over Leeds, 42-7. I've said from the beginning, Ramsey is the best team in 5A. I'm going to stay with that. A lot of people this week, I know a lot of people lean, hey, it could be Gulf Shores, it could be, somebody, but it has been Ramsey. Look, they are just so phenomenal there. Good defense, holding Leeds to 7 points. Leeds is not it is a tough team. They're not an easy out. 42-7, though, winner there at Legion Field. However, now Ramsey gets to travel down the road just a little bit, not too far of a drive, to Moody, who beat Russellville 42-21. Moody, look, I lean Moody winning this game. Russellville is a tough out in the playoffs, but winning 42-21, and it was even bigger than that at one point. So Moody has been really good this season, finishing behind Leeds and behind Southside Gadsden. Southside Gadsden loses in the first round to Boaz, gets upset. Lee gets beat by Ramsey. Not an upset, but still gets beat by Ramsey pretty bad. Moody, the lone team, still hanging on right there. They move on to the quarterfinals. They will host Ramsey in that game. So, obviously, we followed Jake Gaines when he was at Thompson and now doing a great job over there. Also got Amon Lane back as well, so that's another big piece there. Obviously, Auburn commit there who came from Thompson with him. And, I mean, good team there, Moody.
They're going to have to widen the road, widen 411 to get out to Moody a little more. They keep doing this.
Yeah, it's
a lot of people are going to be out there watching them.
Hey, if we were not at Thompson on Friday, if we did have that week off and this was a game you had Ramsey versus Moody, no question, that's the game that I would want to be at, watching Ramsey take on the Blue Devils. In the northern half, Demopolis, they beat BC Rain 13-6. Close one. BC Rain had a pretty good season this year. Close one down there in Mobile, but Demopolis moves on. They will host Eufaula, who beat Faith Academy. Not totally shocked Eufaula beat Faith Academy, but surprised they beat them 41-14. I thought Faith Academy would have a chance to move on and potentially face Gulf Shores in a rematch, but Demopolis, they will host Eufaula in the quarterfinals. Then Gulf Shores, like I mentioned, 41-0 winners over Charles Henderson. No real shock there. Little shocked maybe that Headland beat UMS Wright 35-21. It is a 3-4, but with UMS Wright shutting down Central Clay County, of all teams, shutting down Central Clay County to 0 points and then giving up 35 to Headland. Kind of makes you wonder, hey, maybe Headland's got a little something for Gulf Shores this week.
Yeah, I don't think so, because I'm going to go against you. I think Gulf Shores is the best team in the state in their classification, so we'll see.
I have definitely had almost written in pen Gulf Shores versus Ramsey for the state title, but got to go through Headland, who has looked impressive so far, beating Holtville and then beating UMS Wright from that region with Gulf Shores there. So Headland will host Gulf Shores. Demopolis will host Eufaula.
They never played, so, you know.
So kind of unknown. Throw everything out. Let's just get on the field and see what happens.
Yeah, they'll be on huddle trying to figure out some or either if one of them, Gulf Shores I think is on the NFHS network, so they use that film as much as they can.
Oh yeah, definitely. So good 5A matchups there. All right, moving on to Class 6A. In the North, one of the favorites to potentially win the state title and be the top team overall in the state, Clay Chalkville. A little bit of a struggle against Mountain Brook. Of course, Mountain Brook, a really solid team as well. 17-13, Clay, they get the win over the Spartans. However, they will have to travel to Muscle Shoals. First road game for the Cougars this year. In the playoffs, they beat Fort Payne. Muscle Shoals does 41-10. So Muscle Shoals will host Clay Chalkville. Muscle Shoals has been really strong all season. As much as we talk about, teams that could potentially compete in 7A, we talk here in Birmingham, Clay Chalkville, Hillcrest. You talk about Mountain Brook, obviously former 7A team. Up north, Muscle Shoals. If Muscle Shoals were to move their way into 7A, I think they could cause some damage. They can't quite make it to being state championship consistent, making a consistent run to the Super 7, but they'll play some teams, multiple teams from 7A Region 4, and they will just dominate them. So always be interested to see if they ever move up, if they ever grow up there and move up to 7A potentially. Gadsden City, the team that has been in Class 7A, they get a 1-touchdown win over Hartselle, who finished second behind Muscle Shoals there in that region, 22-15. Gadsden City moves on. The Titans will travel to Birmingham, something they know a lot about, traveling to Birmingham in their 7A Region 3 when they were there to play Parker, though, 21-14. Parker gets a win over Oxford. Parker had I forgot who it was, came back from injury. I forgot his name already, but big player come back from injury, got the last touchdown there at the end to make it 21-14. Parker, they will host Gadsden City there.
Wide receiver.
Yeah, it's a wide receiver. I can't remember his name. But Parker, they beat Oxford. Oxford, good team, can make a run in the playoffs, has won state championships. Parker, and I'm almost kind of leaning in the direction of I kind of like Parker now out of the North. I know Clay Chalkville, we saw him in person, watched him beat Thompson, but Parker has had a legit season so far this year. Their only loss is a close loss to Pleasant Grove, which is a bit of a head-scratcher because they had just beaten Ramsey before that, who was by far the best team out of that region. But I don't know. Parker versus either Muscle Shoals or Clay could be, not to write Gadsden City out, but if Parker did make it, that could be phenomenal, and I have been looking forward to a potential Parker-Clay rematch there in the semifinals as well. All right, in the southern half, Pike Road, big win over Spanish Fort, 31-17. Wow. They barely got past Homewood the round before. Homewood had their quarterback injured in the first half and their best wide receiver, and still Pike Road only able to get a field goal there in the second half to barely win. But then they took it to Spanish Fort by 2 touchdowns. That game was at home for Pike Road. Now they'll have to travel over to Alexander City. Not the worst drive, I guess, in the world, but they will have to go to Alexander City, and they will have to travel to Ben Russell, who won 47-27 over a pretty good Hueytown team, getting revenge over Hueytown for knocking them out last year. So, Ben Russell will host Pike Road. Good matchup there between Region 2 and Region 3. And then the North, Saraland, my pick to win the state championship, 51-14 winners over Briarwood. Briarwood got to host the game at least, but it was over pretty early there in that one. And Hillcrest, Tuscaloosa. Now, just throwing this out there once again, nobody knows what's going to happen until December, I guess, is when they'll make their decision. But I saw somebody else go and pull some numbers. I've kind of done some digging on my own, but I saw somebody else go pull some numbers for 7A moving forward. And Chelsea did drop out, and they were replaced by Hillcrest, Tuscaloosa to potentially move up and be another Tuscaloosa team there with County in 7A Region 3. Hillcrest could do a little damage in that region, I think. I mean,
Absolutely.
Obviously, you got Thompson, you got Hoover, you got Hewitt-Trussville, Vestavia, Spain Park even as well. But I would put Hillcrest as potentially a playoff team there in 7A Region 3, and they get a big win over Helena. A Helena team that had been on fire, fell off against Ben Russell and Vestavia, got a big win in the first round against Wetumpka, but then 42-7 got shut down in that one.
It would make the town of Chelsea and the school of Chelsea extremely happy if that happened. And Hillcrest obviously would be way more competitive in Region 3 and 7A than Chelsea is or is going to be for several years.
The teams that I would move up if I had like competitive balance, pick those teams. Saraland, easy choice. Hillcrest, easy choice. Clay Chaltville, easy choice. I'd probably lean Muscle Shoals as a fourth one, just to have a Huntsville team. But, Saraland, Hillcrest, Tuscaloosa, that should be an incredible game there in the quarterfinals. All right, moving on. Class 7A, down to 4 teams. So the winner of these games Friday will be playing for the state championship on December 6th, Wednesday, December 6th at 7 p.m. over at Bryant-Denny Stadium. In the North, Hewitt-Trussville will take on, actually, we'll get to that in a second. Let's do the South first. Central Phoenix City, they beat Auburn 49-21. Mary Montgomery, they got a close win over Enterprise 13-10. You wondered maybe we'd see an Enterprise Central rematch. Mary Montgomery has not dropped a game all season. Central Phoenix City, meanwhile, not dropped a game all season. 12-0 versus 11-0. And still, the formula spit out a 34.5-point favorite for Central Phoenix City.
Well, that's because of their offense. I mean, you got to look at, they know how to score from anywhere on the field. I think Central could probably show up without a defense and still win a ball game. I really do.
Yeah, I mean, look, Cam Coleman, obviously the 5-star guy there, number 1 recruit in the state, going to Texas A&M. Yeah. Everybody widely assumes he's going to end up at Auburn, but obviously playing there for Patrick Nix, a guy who knows football very well,
and who knows Auburn very well.
And I fully believe Central Phoenix City will move on. But Mary Montgomery, they've kind of been the story there in the South this year, have not dropped a game yet. Sitting at 12-0, the region champ out of Region 1. So I like Central Phoenix City. I like Central Phoenix City all the way right now just because of the talent they have built there with that team. But who either one of the teams will face, still up in the air. But as Hewitt-Trussville, they win 40-7 over Hoover. They have improved since that Spain Park loss. They have looked really good since then. They dominated Bob Jones 56-14. They dominated Hoover even worse than they did the first time, 40-7. Meanwhile, Thompson technically won bigger than they did over Vestavia, but boy, that game was 14-14 at halftime, and everybody was looking around saying, not liking the way things are going right now. Even though it was tied, all the momentum was in Vestavia's favor, and then Thompson able to pull out a 20 unanswered points to win 34-14, and they will host you at Trussville in the next round.
Yeah, well, let's talk about Josh Floyd a little bit. He had a great week last week. Just trying to remember his number. I think it was 130-something yards. I mean, Peyton. Yeah, Josh is.
Yeah, they're the same thing.
Same thing. But 139 yards, if my memory serves me correct. I don't know why my computer decided not to work right now. Here we go. I got it. At least it's back on.
490 total yards.
Right.
In that one. 13-17 passing, 179 yards, 2 touchdowns. 29 rushes for 119 yards in the pair scores, too. That's the thing.
That's what I was
He
trying to
can
remember.
beat you with his legs. And we saw it last year.
Yeah.
They didn't play in the playoffs. When they played in the regular season last year, he torched Thompson and that really good defense, running past players like Peter Woods, as good as that defense was. And third down conversions, so incredible on that. And coming into this year's game, it was at Hewitt-Trussville. This one will be at Thompson. But we were there, and I constantly kept saying, he's going to burn this defense with his legs. That's just what he has done. And he has done it against everybody except for Thompson.
That's right. But remember, so was John Paul Head. Okay,
Yep.
He's done it at Vestavia against everybody. This past week, when Thompson beat Vestavia, the reason they were able to hold them in check was because they keyed on John Paul Head. So whatever Coach Freeman did at Thompson, whatever the defensive guys did, whatever scheme it was, it worked. And I look for them to basically do the same thing against Floyd.
John Paul has an easy 100-yard rusher against most teams, had 68 in that game, but that's only a lot of rushes that he had to ultimately get 68 yards. So, yeah, rushing quarterbacks, they have beaten Thompson in the past, but ultimately when it gets to the playoff time, they've figured things out and they do a good job at stopping them. And, look, John Paul Head, he did in the regular season, too, but then really did get stopped there in that second half of the game.
But Floyd, last week he rushed for 21 times. That's probably more than the running back. I don't know what the running back did.
Yeah.
But he's their go-to rusher.
Yeah.
So it's like, well, you don't know. It can be 3rd down and 8. He's going to pull it down, run the draw, or he's going to run the sweep, keep it. He's going to run the RPO and keep it, So
yeah. A lot of it not designed necessarily. He's just good at scrambling, getting away from pressure. And
that's where his strength is.
Yeah, that's the thing when they when they got first downs on all those 3rd downs, it was 3rd and 7+. It wasn't like 3rd and 1 and he just, did the old tush push to get a first down. It was, I'm going to scramble around and then I'm wide open to potentially have a run. So that was contained in the regular season for Thompson, but against other teams, he's been able to run wild. So still got to be able to contain that.
And Trent Seaborn on the other side of the ball, threw the ball, had 10 completions, 291 yards. Man, he had some big bullets, especially the last one against Landry, the last touchdown pass he threw to Corbin Landry. Absolutely incredible pass, absolutely incredible catch. That's what put the nail in the coffin for Thompson.
To be only a freshman, he's been incredibly accurate so far this season. Kind of started off a little slow, had some not great passes against Opelika in that first game, threw 3 interceptions against Vestavia there in the 3rd game of the year, first region game of the year. But, yeah, has definitely found his groove and has looked really, really solid and played solid against Vestavia. So, Hewitt-Trussville at Thompson. We'll be on the call for that one coming up on Friday.
WarriorNationNetwork.org. WarriorNationNetwork.org. You can click on the Watch Now button if you've got a subscription to the NFHS network. If you don't, you can pay for one game and just watch it, or you can listen to the broadcast for free right there by clicking the Listen button.
Of course, we'll have all the scores and bracket updates and everything for you as well. If you listen to that broadcast, at halftime we'll run through where the scores are. After the game, we'll run through where the scores are, where the brackets are.
I want to make sure you know that we're going to have an extended post-game show. So if you're getting in your cars after you've been to one of these games and you want to get caught up on what John has to say about brackets and scores, he'll have them all for you. Just go to WarriorNationNetwork.org, click on the Listen Now button. You can have the radio broadcast right there in your car headed home.
And, of course, the only place you can see these brackets,
yes.
ALPreps.com, on Twitter at ALPreps. You can go and see them there, and I'll have them updated as soon as possible. As soon as I get home from Thompson and scurry back to my house and get them all done. I may just bring my computer to Thompson, who knows, and do them while we're there during our extended postgame.
While we're doing the postgame show.
I may. I just, okay, I can move that team on, on, and see who moves on. But, of course, we'll be back next week. We'll have, I guess, our final next round preps, because the Wednesday after that could be at the Super 7 for Thompson there. But, yeah, so I guess that'll be our last next round preps, at least in this format. Next week in round 4 of the playoffs, and then, of course, whoever wins in 7A.
Up already, John.
Yeah, whoever wins in 7A between Central and Mary Montgomery, and then Thompson and Hewitt. Jim brought some. It's okay. Whoever wins those games will play in the Super 7. If you're curious, the Super 7 games for 7A will be on Wednesday, the afternoon, with the flag football games. There's a 1A through 5A flag football game, and then actually, if you go to alpreps.com, I have those brackets as well. 1A through 5A will be Winona versus Montgomery Catholic. That'll be at 1 o'clock on Wednesday, December 6th in Tuscaloosa. 6A through 7A will be Vestavia versus Central Phoenix City. So, two teams, obviously, that have had success in football as well. They will play those games at 1 and 3 o'clock. And then at 7 o'clock Wednesday will be the 7A championship between the winners of those games. And then, of course, Thursday is 3A, 1A, 5A at 11, 3, and 7 at Bryant-Denny. And then Friday, 4A, 2A, and 6A is going to be at 11, 3, and 7.
That's a lot of numbers.
It is a lot of numbers. Just go to alpreps.com. It'll all be right there. I promise everything will make sense for you. I'll read it on the whole page for the Super 7, too, when we get to that point. But anyway, until then, Jerry Young, John Lunceford. Should be a good Football Friday, good Black Friday. Have a happy Thanksgiving, everybody.